My name is Emily Wall, and I'm a member of the FestivALL Board of Directors and Chair of FeastivALL. Tonight, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 9th Annual FeastivALL. We are so grateful for your continued support in such a crucial time for the arts. By joining us this year for FeastivALL To-Go, not only do you get to enjoy the delicious food and drink that you've come to know and love from our annual event, you're also supporting FestivALL programs and events and directly supporting local artisans. Inside your bag, you'll find a special note from us, a detailed menu, 3 handmade items from artisans who you usually see at the Capitol Street or Harvest art fairs, along with their business cards and information. We hope these colorful keepsakes help keep the spirit of FeastivALL in your heart while we're apart this year, and that you'll enjoy incorporating them into your at-home setup. Be sure to tag us at FestivALL Charleston if you share on social media. We encourage you to plate up your salad on the wooden serving board from Z&Z Woodcrafters or Black Locust Woodshop. We hope you've practiced your sauce technique. Chef Paul says that using the back of a spoon is key. Admire the work of Mel Dottie, Mallory Burka, or Kevin Jack as you dig into your entree and discern which pairing you prefer. Use the pottery from Julie Wingard, Mally Moon Handmade, or Misty Moonshine Studio for the delicious caramel served with your ricotta cheesecake. We hope you enjoy this incredible feast. And on behalf of everyone here at FestivALL, thank you again for your support. Now, I'll pass the mic over to FestivALL Board President, LJ Fairless. Cheers, everyone.
Welcome, and thank you, Emily. You know, I can't tell you how much I miss seeing everybody live, but I've got to say that it is truly wonderful to be a part of such a great community who is so supportive of the arts. You've all logged on, tuned in, feasted to go, all in support of FestivALL for nearly a year now. And for that, we are truly grateful for all your continued and dedicated support. You know, in 2020, FestivALL presented 63 online and at-home events across 22 days in October and June. These events featured more than 650 artists and more than 8,000 views from households in 10 states. As most of you know, for the last 8 years, FeastivALL has been our only fundraiser, and the majority of those funds that have been raised all came from those tremendous auction items that have always been generously donated. And speaking of generous, and this is when we step into our public broadcasting mode, I can't tell you, and it wouldn't be right if I didn't, that this is the opportune time, as you're on this site, to make a donation, whatever you can, and be a friend of FestivALL. You know, when you support FestivALL, you make this great community of ours a better and brighter place to be. So, while you're making your pledge, or at least thinking about how much you're going to pledge, I'd like to take this very good opportunity to thank some of the most generous people who have made this night possible for all of us. I'd like to start with our own Dan and Kathy Foster for their generous sponsorship of FeastivALL this year. Aaron and Marie Clark and Chef Paul Smith of 1010 Bridge, who stepped up very quickly to provide and prepare this exquisite culinary delight that we're all about to experience. The Country Vintner and North Central Distributing for their excellent wine and beer pairings that we're about to drink down. So cheers to those guys. And last but not least, I have the ultimate pleasure of introducing our beer and wine experts and my dear friends, Rich Ireland and John Brown, who, along with our esteemed Executive Director of FestivALL, Maria Belcher, they're talking about their choices of the pairings that they've provided for you this evening for your entree. And they're also going to give you some ideas on how to pair that salad and that dessert for you as well. And of course, it wouldn't be the same without a little fun-spirited trash talking. So guys, keep it clean. Good luck. And I thank each and every one of you for being here this evening, and have a great evening. Thank you. Take it away, Maria.
All right. Thank you very much, LJ. I am Maria Belcher, the Executive Director at FestivALL Charleston. And this evening, I have with me our wine and beer experts, Rich Ireland and John Brown. Thank you both so much for joining us for this reimagined version of FeastivALL.
Yeah, thanks.
Great to be here.
No problem. I mean, you know, it's go ahead, John.
No, I just said it's great to be here, even virtually.
Yeah, virtual. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's taking me away from my beer garden table, but the folks are waiting for me back there. My beer is warming up behind me right now, but no, I can only wish. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Well, our hope is that that is right around the corner, and it certainly in 2022, we'll all be enjoying the festivities back in person again.
Sure.
And, you know, FeastivALL as we know it, but we're very thankful that you guys and the committee and certainly everyone that's joining, watching us here this evening have been so excited and so supportive of this pivot that we made for FeastivALL 2021 to go. So how this is going to work, just like in a normal year, we've got Rich and John here to share their pairing suggestions for all three of the courses that you have. With your pickup meals, you have received both a wine split and the selected beer, but we also have suggested pairings that you can find at the wine shop in Charleston here at the Capitol Market. So they're going to discuss a little bit about each of the dishes and why they have selected the types of wines and then the specific ones for both the beer and wine pairing for the entree. So with that, I will pass it off to the two of you to get it started. Who wants to go first? Let's start the competition now.
John, up to you. If you want to go roll with the salad, go ahead. I'll jump in.
No, I'm just, you can do it, man. Do it.
All right. So the salad course this year is really, really good. Chef Paul put together this really deconstructed sort of Caesar that I really like. It's got some richness to it, so I can be a little more bold with the beers that I pick for that. There's like a Parmesan butter, I think what he called it, kind of smeared on the bottom. A lot of Parmesan cheese in there. Very, very delicious salad. So I thought that, you know, a session IPA would be really good with this. So it's a little bit of, you know, a hint towards the hops, but not like a full-on IPA with the big body and the big alcohol. So Bell's out of Kalamazoo Brewing Company, Kalamazoo, Michigan, really is one of the pioneers of the American-style hop-forward IPA called Two-Hearted Ale. They also make one called Light-Hearted Ale, which is, again, lower alcohol, lower hop IBUs, and just lighter body. We're sure you can find that at the wine shop, but if you decide you have a favorite other session IPA like Founders All Day IPA or Dogfish Head Slightly Mighty or any of those, I see Sweetwater has one now. These will all work fairly well. They're going to kind of play around with the cutting the richness of that deconstructed Caesar, and there's also these like roasted Brussels sprout leaves in there, so all that stuff works together. I think it's going to be a delicious pairing. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting, Rich, but I think folks are going to probably like what I'm going to suggest a little bit better. You know, we are, over the years, wine has forged ahead in the, you know, face-to-face competition. So just thought I'd get that in there. But in any event, there's this little village in the Marche region of Italy, which borders the Adriatic Sea. And this little village, though, is inland about 100 miles up in the hills. And it's called, and a lot of you old rock and roll fans will like this name, Metallica. Now, it's still not spelled the same, but the village of Metallica in the Marche region produces from a very ubiquitous, ordinary grape, a special wine. Verdicchio is all over Italy, but in this treatment in the vineyards up in the mountains there in Marche and outside of Metallica, it really produces a richer form of white wine. It's like crisp green apple kind of flavors. There's a roundness and richness to it. And what I think makes it especially good with Chef Paul's first course, salad course, is that I think the difficulty that most people have, and I have, in pairing wines with salad is the vinaigrette. And this one, while it has a hint of it, it's also got this lovely Parmesan custard. And I think the combination of that with the salmon croquettes marries really well with this wine from the Verdicchio region. I mean, the Metallica village of Verdicchio. One other thing is, I think there's another grape that if you can't find that one, and I'm sure that the wine shop at Capital Market has Verdicchio and maybe even from Metallica, you could get a Cortese grape. It's Cortese di Gabi, which is in the Piedmont region, not quite as round, maybe a little more crisp, but I think that would go well with that particular course too. Rich?
Sounds good. Yeah, and I didn't even mention the salmon croquettes, but I think they'll work well with the session IPA as well. Okay, and then on to the main course. Delicious short rib prepared with a wonderful sauce. I picked a very good world-class beer called Eyinger Celebrator Doppelbock. Eyinger, the brewery Eying is outside of Munich. Doppelbocks are traditional this time of year. They're a Lent beer, traditionally brewed by monastic brewers, and that was their bread replacement for calorie intake normally. And Doppelbocks are lagers. They're just rich, malty, dark, and the Celebrator Doppelbock is absolutely world-class, probably in the top 5 lagers rated in the world all the time. They brew it year-round because it's so popular. This will go really well with the richness of this meat. And if I tried to do something with porter or something that has a little more sort of dry malt or a dark malt sort of bitterness, it wouldn't work, because it works fine with the sauce, but then when it runs into the actual protein, the meat, you start getting a metallic flavor out of the meat from that. It kind of accentuates a negative flavor. And I think the maltiness and the roundness of the Eyinger Doppelbock will work really well. And it doesn't really affect how nice the winter vegetables work with everything. So I think it's just going to be a nice mouthful of nice beer, complimentary, nothing in the way. We're not trying to contrast with anything. We're just trying to get along with the meal. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, one of the challenges that you have in pairing a very rich, beefy meal like this with the demi-glace, it's going to be a very, very rich, very, very rich pairing that you're going to have with it. Or in this instance, what I've chosen to do is to try to, instead of going with a big Cabernet Sauvignon or a big round, big rich Zinfandel, I've decided to try to go with something that has a little bit of the acidic backbone, as well as the great flavors of richness to marry with this course. So what I've chosen is to go into Argentina, up above 3,000 feet, to the world famous Catena vineyards. And Catena is my all-time favorite for everyday, when I say everyday, reasonably priced wines, including Chardonnay. But in this instance, their Malbec is really lovely. And it's not only rich, but it also has, as I mentioned earlier, that little balance of acidity in it that really makes it marry well with this. And the other thing that I like about this Malbec, this is 2018 Catena Malbec. The other thing I love about it is that it has an earthy character that really, in a very subtle and nuanced way, kind of marries with the mushroom demi-glace, the Hernshaw mushroom demi-glace. So that's why I chose that. I mean, I think you couldn't go wrong if you wanted to try even Chianti Classico or a Zinfandel, a red Zin from Sonoma County. But in my instance, I think you need to try this Malbec. That's it.
So I thought, I'd just take a shot at it, since it's pretty easy to pair wine and beer. And I've got this sparkling grape soda. Would that work, John?
Well, the only problem with that, Rich, is I know that's your go-to beverage, but you might want to try something else. I mean, I don't know, maybe some hair tonic.
Yeah, I need some.
Oh, hell, I do too. I've got an expanding forehead, but we have a whole other subject for another time.
We could have advertised our pairings up there. Yeah.
What do bald-headed men drink?
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's your turn, Betty.
Yeah. So on the dessert, it was absolutely delicious. Coming from Italian in-laws, we have what's called ricotta pie. It's a common thing around the house. It's made all the time, but Chef Paul really took it out of the ballpark with his ricotta cheesecake. And it's so rich. It's got the pecans caramelized on top. It's wonderful with a little bit of fruit. Really complex dish. And you either have to like complement that dish or contrast with a little bit, or try to become part of the dessert when you're pairing with it. I mean, one way or the other. You got to have something enjoyable that doesn't detract from the actual star of the show, which is the dessert. And I think there's a lot of choices out there, and I'm going to put this back on a little bit on the person that's listening. If they're a beer fan, my pick would be a bière de garde, which is a broad term for beers to keep. It means typically a richer, stronger farmhouse beer. In this case, Duclaw makes a beer called Caramel Sutra, and it's a 10% beer, rich, dark. It's got a little bit of a Belgian-y roundness to it. Should go really well with everything there in your palate. If you're a little more of a dark beer fan, darker beer, you could actually go with, I think, anything that has a dark beer aged on in a bourbon barrel, not over the top, but one that's a bourbon barrel aged beer that you like. It would complement and add to this dish with the pecans, especially, and the nuts, caramel nuts. But I think you'll find something, but look for the Caramel Sutra first. If you can find it, I think that you'll find that to be a very nice pairing. Go ahead, John.
Okay, a lot of people don't think of wine as a dessert because they hearken back to times when sweet wines were among the first things they ever drank, alcoholic, and it didn't turn out too good for them. You drink, without naming names, there's some beverages out there that could not only are sweet, but could, if you ran out of rocket fuel and you're on your way to the moon, it get you there. But really, sweet wines really should be paired with food. This course, which is so rich and lovely. I mean, it's just, you look at it and your blood sugar goes off the charts. So you can do what Rich suggested, is you can get something that marries well with it and kind of goes with the flow. In this instance, I would recommend a late harvest Riesling, which are late picked grapes that turn into really sugar and honey. They're lovely. And that would go wonderfully well with this course. But if you want to go in the other direction, and I'm not talking about a completely bone dry one, but sparkling wine, particularly California sparkling wines, reasonably priced. And even if you wanted to put just a touch of color in it, maybe a Blanc de Noir. And the Blanc de Noir maybe could be from any number of producers there. I like Gloria Ferrar. So in any event, I would go with either the late harvest Riesling, which is going to be sweet and marry well and kind of get along, or I would go in the opposite direction with something that not only is maybe a little drier, but also is a nice contrast and sparkle and cleanses your palate and makes you feel refreshed after eating that, lump of greatness.
Yep. So that's definitely a challenge on the desserts. You either for beer, it's either go with the flow or add to the, get in the front seat with the dessert and try to add to it, right, one way or the other. Yep.
So Maria, I think that's all I have. I don't know if Rich wants to get up on his soapbox and talk about how inadequacies of beer, but
there's so many
the beer garden. I'd like to be there. I'd even drink a beer if I was in that backdrop where you are, Rich.
Yeah, that's a wonderful, wonderful place. So we definitely think that it's a smaller menu this year, but it's workable. It's going to be an excellent deliverable to everyone that participated. Get out there and try to find the complimentary beers for the first and third course and enjoy it. And then we'll see what everyone thinks.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Indeed. And in that same vein, Rich, we couldn't let it go without taking a vote. So what I'm going to be doing is in the chat section of this YouTube video, you can find a direct link to a SurveyMonkey where you can go on and vote for which pairing you liked best for the entree. Are you going to go beer this year or wine? And I do want to remind everyone and maybe make the stakes a little bit higher here that wine is ahead 5-3. So this is our 9th FeastivALL. So we are curious to see what the people think. Will beer get a little bit closer to beating wine, or will wine pull away a little bit this year? You guys can make that decision. So check the link below for the SurveyMonkey where you can cast your vote, just like we do every year at FeastivALL. And we'll be sure to distribute the results.
Finally, an honest vote. No canvassing and yeah. All righty. That was great.
Thank you all.
Thanks. You have a good one. See ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you again to John and Rich for joining us and sharing their expertise. We hope that you all are enjoying the pairings. And don't forget to go on and cast your vote for who you think made the best pairing decision. Is it the beer or the wine this year? You will be the ones to tell us. I'd also like to extend our gratitude today to the FeastivALL Chair, Emily Wall, to our Master of Ceremonies and Board President, LJ Fairless, and the entire FeastivALL Committee for putting together and coming up with such an ingenious way for all of us to share in FeastivALL with each other, even from a distance this year. But certainly this evening would not have been possible without the overwhelmingly warm and supportive reception that each and every one of you gave to this year's event. We are so incredibly grateful for your support, and know that not only does your contribution to FeastivALL 2021 support the mission of FestivALL, but it also directly supported local artists. As you know, in each of your packs and to-go meals, you received 3 handmade works that we commissioned specifically for FeastivALL. So we hope that you enjoy those 3 pieces throughout the year. And when you look at them, you feel just as much hope as we do that we will be celebrating FeastivALL 2022 in person. And certainly in the meantime, keep an eye on FestivalCharleston.com for announcements as we come upon a festival and festive fall later this year, to make sure that you stay updated with our events and programs and follow along with all of the news and updates. So again, we thank you so much for your support and encourage you to check out Season 6, Episode 2 of 3 Things, which airs this week on Wednesday. We have artist Kaylee Phillips, Lieutenant David Payne, and drummer Stephen Barker joining us. So you will get to hear their firsts, their favorites, and their futures. And I will drop that link into the chat box of this YouTube video as well. So you can go on and pay what you wish to be able to join us for that episode of 3 Things coming up shortly. Thank you all again so very much. Bon appetit, enjoy, and we will hopefully see you very soon. Take care.